I the a-hole for laughing at my former stepmom and saying she is getting what she deserves? I'm 16 female, by the way. Parents got divorced since they got married young and grew apart. Dad got remarried and had more kids, and my mom did not. My stepmom and dad got divorced, which was amazing because my stepmom insisted on me not having my own room, since I apparently don't live there except for every other weekend, but her kids do. She obviously favored them and made it clear that she loved me less, and told me what to do even though it was not her right. She always told me that growing up with divorced parents and step-parents is normal, and that I played victim. Now, my dad and mom are getting remarried after reconnecting as older people. My former stepmom is freaking out about it. It is all like, "You won't last," and talking about the kids my dad and she had together. I laughed at her and told her that she shouldn't be so worried if she thinks the way she treated me was okay. I told her that my mom was 100 times the person she would ever be, and that she would be a great stepmom and like her. I told her that her kids would have bedrooms and not be treated like less. I also told her that she should stop playing victim. She then cried and said, "I don't understand." So I was wondering if I'm being an a-hole because I am getting what I want, and there was no need to rub it in. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. A lot of step-parents have blinders on and take no accountability. She sounds like one of them. I would suggest to keep your distance going forward, however, for your own sake. I totally am determined to make it as easy on my half-siblings as possible. You are very solidly not an a-hole territory here. You and your mom are going to show your stepmom how it is supposed to be done. Not an a-hole. Even though my stepson was only with us on school holidays due to living far away, he still has his own bedroom. Why would you make a kid feel like they don't belong in what is supposed to be their family? It really messes you up. You are a good step-parent. Thank you so much for your compliment. And that's why we always try to have a bedroom for him. Not always possible when we lived in a 3-bedroom house. He shared with his brother and our daughters shared a room. But as soon as we moved to a bigger house, the girls shared a room and the boys each got their own room. Because even though he was with us so little of the year, he still was part of the family and should have his own space with his own things in it. And from other comments I read from you, you are a good sibling and will make sure your siblings are treated right, and your mom will be a good stepmom. Not an a-hole. If that's how you feel, then you have a right to express it. Let her reflect on her behavior. Like, I literally get how hard it's gonna be on my half-siblings. I lived through it, so I would never make them feel even worse. My mom knows how their mom treated me and how it made me feel, and she would never be the same. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not sticking up for my grandmother after my wife told her to F off out of her hospital room? About 3 weeks ago, my wife, 33, went into premature labor with our daughter at 31 weeks. It was entirely unexpected, and both my wife and our daughter had a horrible time, and it became quite dangerous for the both of them. My wife became preeclamptic among other serious complications, and for the first week, we weren't even sure if either my wife or our daughter would make it. Luckily, they both survived, but our daughter is still in the NICU after 3 weeks, and probably will be in for another 3, and my wife is still in the hospital as well. It has been a horrible struggle for my wife. Before this, she was a very healthy and active person, and even during most of her pregnancy, she was able to maintain a somewhat active lifestyle. But because of the trauma her body went through, she is basically starting back from square one and hasn't even been able to hold our daughter yet. My wife has had a lot of struggle so far with her birth trauma and feels so confused and hurt by her experience. She told me that she feels betrayed by her own body. And even in some of her weakest moments, she even said she regretted getting pregnant entirely because of how much she has suffered. And she is so worried she'll never be the person she was again. She feels horrible for having these feelings, but I and multiple mental health professionals have been working to help and support her through this. We finally have reached a point where we can receive visitors. Her family lives close, but my family lives 3 states away and have been waiting the chance to meet the baby and check in on my wife. My parents and grandparents flew down, and I warned my family beforehand that my wife and daughter are still at a very fragile stages, and to be patient. When I brought them in to see my wife, my grandmother immediately went and wanted to talk to her about the birth and her experience. My wife told her that it was one of the worst experiences of her life, and my grandmother responded by telling her that the worst is yet to come, and that struggling is what being a mother is about. My wife got very upset over this comment and started screaming at her to F off and to get the heck out. I had never seen my wife like this, and I could tell she was feeling extremely stressed, and I quickly escorted my family out. I told them it would be best if they leave for now and we could talk later as not to cause even more stress on my wife. My family said they were appalled by my wife's behavior and me for not defending my grandmother. But at the end of the day, I feel that it is my responsibility to be my wife's advocator all of the time, but especially now. It has become a bit of a tension in my extended side of the family, however, but I haven't told my wife about it because I don't want to stress her out, and I plan to deal with this alone entirely. Should I apologize on my wife's behalf? If I am the a-hole, I'll own up to it, but I don't see my wife as an a-hole at all. Should I apologize on my wife's behalf? No. They had one job, but your grandmother just had to swoop in without outdated mentality and tell a woman who's gone through hell and back the worst is yet to come and that struggling is what being a mother is about. Who the hell tells someone in your wife's position that? Not the a-hole, but you will be if you apologize to them for their appalling behavior. The baby barely made it. No part of parenting is worse than when your kid is in serious danger. None of it. Hopefully that is as close as you will ever come to losing your baby, and thus parenting will never get worse. Only a monster would say differently. Grandma was so swept up in being all-knowing and looking down on y'all that she couldn't see the tragedy in front of her. Yep. Grandma was totally apathetic. His wife and baby almost died. She's had kids of her own. She should know that even the easiest births aren't sunshine and rainbows. I hope he's 100% not a-hole, and honestly, I think he should keep his entire family away from his wife and baby for the next few months. She needs time to heal from this trauma and needs people who will love her and support her. Opie, you're doing great being there for your wife. Don't let your family near her again anytime soon. Not a-hole times 1,000. You stood up for your wife in her most vulnerable state. That was ridiculously rude of your grandmother. Do not apologize to them for your wife. If anything, you should ask them to apologize to her. Thank you for having a shiny spine and protecting your wife and baby. This exactly. It's so exceptionally rare on here to find a story about a man who defends his wife to his family and prioritizes her first. It's amazing. Absolutely did the right thing. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for being too close to my ex-husband? 6 years ago, I got divorced from my now ex-husband. There was no drama that led to this. We simply realized we were no longer happy or in love, so it would have been a clean break if not for the fact we had a daughter who is now 11. Neither of us wanted to lose full custody of her or miss important moments in her life. She's the most important person in both our lives, and we debated on trying to make it work just for her, but realized that would only lead to all three of us becoming miserable. So we entered an arrangement that many would view as unconventional. When we sold our house, we used the money to buy 2 semi-detached houses that were joined and had a door installed between them. The construction company tried to warn us against this as it would affect resale value, but neither of us had any intention to sell, so we had them to go ahead with it. We also had them take down the fence between both our back gardens so our daughter would have an extra large back garden to play in. Many of you balk at the door, but there is an arrangement. It is strictly for our daughter's use and neither of us can use it barring any emergency, say a fire, a medical emergency, or something being wrong with our daughter. She has 2 bedrooms, 1 in each house, and every day she can pick where she wants to have breakfast, dinner, and sleep. I won't lie, it was awkward at first, but for her sake we made it work and even regained a lot of the friendship we had lost, though it was of course strictly platonic now. Last year, my ex-husband married his girlfriend of 3 years, a lovely woman who I'm actually friends with, and I was even a guest at their wedding with my daughter being one of her bridesmaids. All in all, it's an arrangement everyone is content with, except for my boyfriend who I started to date 2 years ago. He understood the arrangement entering into the relationship. And while I said it was a bit weird, he never protested. It all seemed well. Things are getting more serious, and we've been discussing moving in together. and he has made it clear he wants me to move as he doesn't want to live next door to my ex-husband. I understood that, but told him that wouldn't be happening as my daughter had to come first, and our arrangements gave her a stable upbringing. He got upset with me and asked me how he was supposed to be a father to my daughter when she already had a dad, and he was literally a wall away. I won't lie, this took me by surprise as I had no idea he wanted to be a father to her. I told him gently but firmly that he wasn't her father, that she already had one, and that even her father's wife didn't try to be a mother. Instead, she is called by her name. I told him if he won some kind of familial title, he could be an uncle, but I wouldn't give him permission to take her father's title when he is very much involved in her life. He told me if I loved him, I'd move for him, and despite me trying to tell him I do love him, he isn't listening. Am I the a-hole in this? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Sounds like you very clearly explained how things work in your world. Kudos for coming up with a unique parenting method that puts your daughter firmly as the most cherished outcome of your previous relationship. Your new boyfriend may not be compatible with your uniquely blended family. But of a red flag that he wants to appropriate the title of father, good on you for nipping that in the bud. Well done. Carry on without him if you can't get the brief. Even my ex-husband's wife doesn't get called mom or any variation of that. She is called by her name, and when my daughter is feeling particularly affectionate, a nickname. So yeah, I wasn't going to let him be a father. Not a-hole since you were honest from the beginning. And your boyfriend's don't love me arguments seem to be his ego/insecurity speaking. Not gonna lie, but love the fact that you two put the love for your kid and her having some stability before your own egos and needs. Hope you have the strength and mental sanity to keep doing that, even if that would mean breaking up with your unreasonable boyfriend. Do him a favor and break up with him. He isn't going to be happy. You and your ex did this thing, and your ex is lucky you found someone who didn't have a problem with it. You may not be so lucky, but that is a chance you took doing this. It's hard to move on, and most people are not going to want to pursue a relationship with this kind of arrangement. That works for you and you're happy with it, then that's good. There is no way to compromise here. You aren't budging, so break up with this guy and let him go. Actually, I would argue that hopefully any emotional mature adult would see the beauty in this arrangement. Imagine getting involved with someone and you see firsthand how well they resolve such an issue, and how they are able to make an unusual decision that ends up being the best for everyone involved. Hope he sounds like a freaking catch to me. Not a-hole. He knew what he was getting into. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for punishing my stepdaughter after she refused to remove the family-framed photo she put all over my house? I, male 37, have been with my wife for 2 years. I have a stepdaughter, Nancy. She's 16 and she's difficult. So difficult to deal with. She generally has little to no respect for me. She'd respond to me saying, "What do you want, weirdo?" Or, "I do this or that once you divorce mom and leave us alone." Honestly, I don't know what her freaking problem is, and I don't care at this point. I still, however, expect her to respect me and my house and my boundaries. Lately, I started seeing framed photos of her mom, and her dad being distributed around the house, like the living room shelf or the kitchen counter. I brought it up with her, and her first thought was, jealous much? Does it serve a constant reminder of the fact that you broke this family up? I have to admit, this pissed me off beyond measure. I told her to remove them because I didn't agree on having them around in my house, specifically not her dad. She acted nonchalant about my request and basically ignored me. I warned her that I'd remove them myself, and she blew up at me saying this is her family. This is a part of her life and I should respect that. I reminded her this is my home, and she should have some respect and stop leaving pictures of her happy family around, period. I encouraged her to take them to her dad's house instead. That would be more appropriate in my opinion. She kept arguing, then walked out while mumbling under her breath, MF'er. I ended up punishing her, and then getting my wife remove the photos. My wife kept asking me to let the punishment go since the photos are no longer there. But I refused because Nancy hurts my feelings and disrespected me in my own home. She must have told her grandparents, who came after me even on social media crying abuse and mistreatment. And my wife has been acting like I started this, and that I'm the one at fault or the one who deliberately was looking for a fight. Info. Did you break up her family by having an affair with her mom? Either way, you're the a-hole. It's not your job to punish her. Respect goes both ways. Like it or not, she has a dad. And maybe you could have sat down and had a conversation about it and come up with a compromise. No, I did not break the family by having an affair. That is not what it was. As someone who got cheated on multiple times, cheating is a despicable act. You're the a-hole. Honestly, I don't know what her freaking problem is, and I don't care at this point. You're the adult, and you clearly don't want a relationship with your stepdaughter. Don't marry someone with a kid if this is your attitude. My house, my home. So, does Nancy not live here or what? My wife kept asking me to let the punishment go since the photos are no longer there. But I refused because Nancy hurts my feelings and disrespected me in my own home. Again, my home. It's clear from your language that you see Nancy as an irritation and not part of your life. Also, she hurts your feelings? Boo stinking who? Her whole life has been uprooted this last 2 years. Mom is allowing her daughter to be complete brat to assuage her own guilt of breaking up her own relationship with a father. That girl doesn't want a relationship with you because her mom has taught her to focus her anger and resentment on the outside offending party, you. So mama doesn't have to feel the guilt and wrath from her own daughter. In other words, mom is allowing you to be the scapegoat. However, don't make it worse on yourself by lashing out. It makes you look bad and further hurts all relationships. Everyone sucks here. Not stay home. First, for those folks, I'm assuming the teens that lurk around here, that think a step-parent can't punish a stepchild. Hell yes, they can. They're an adult that shares co-parenting responsibilities, not some squatter her mom is hooking up with. A step-parent can especially discipline a 16-year-old that is purposefully being a brat, cruel, manipulative, and trying to undermine her parents' authority. Calling an adult an MFer in their own home is never acceptable. In fact, her steady harassment and tactics with the photo is also abusive. Yes, mistreatment goes both ways. And just because she's a teenager doesn't let her off the hook because her feelings are hurt that her bio parents split up. She can be mad, and it's expected that she'll act out. But if this girl's behavior is as Opie describes it, well, that girl needs professional help at a new household. It doesn't matter if that relationship started out of infidelity. It's not any of her business. Also, Opie's wife needs to act like an adult and stop letting that kid run the house and stand by her spouse. She sounds like she lacks a spine out of fear of hurting her kids' feelings. Everything about this suck, but Opie is definitely not the a-hole. Adults are allowed to have feelings and boundaries too.